The Mature Racing Club Project Cars 2 Renault Megane B6 Championship, a mini series that Paul has put on for everybody, and we are visiting, as you can see, Bathurst to start with, at Mount Panorama for a 7-lap race, including a 10-minute qualifying session before that. And yep, should be good fun. After that we go to Hockenheim Short for 10 laps, Knockhill International for 10 laps. Didn't know Knockhill was international, but never mind. Rouen Les Escarts is the final race, and that is a 7-lap dash around that particular track. So we've got all the issues sorted out, so everything should be working fine now. But it does mean I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way here. We can go out and just see who's leaving the pits, and there's a few cars leaving now, so we'll just go through who's here whilst everyone's on outlaps. Hammy Mansell 1980, Kilgore, I'm just going to call him Kill, Welsh J86, George Aguirre, I'll call him George, Pyro Maniac 666, myself who's not racing, Mara V87, PS Scooby 555, who I know from the GT Championship that I was involved in, very fast driver, Vector 01, who I've met before, Kevin Stone 123 Kev, Jackson 888, Frankie 5 Angel 61, Harry Boy 1995, who I met today, and Paul R87, the owner of Mature Racing Club. So let's see who's out on track. Just see if we can bring up some options on the side here, just to give you an idea of the track layout. So like I say, this is a 10-minute qualifying to pick the grid. But at least I will have split time, so that would be one benefit of this. So these cars are 400 horsepower, weigh just less than a ton, so 998 kilos, do 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds, rear wheel drive, a top speed of roughly 266 kilometers, and there's a car on the wall. So just see who that was. Pick up who exactly was in the wall there. Well, it's Harry. It's Harry 1995 in the wall, and I think he's practicing his 3-point turns, but it's kind of hard when there's other cars around. Oops. Oh, that's not gonna. Yes. Let's just say Harry's finding his bearings, and also he's making friends as he goes. Right, let's try and find someone that's further down the field. A bit more crashing there. As Key set 1976 hits the wall. Right, the man that's about to start a lap, Hammy Mansell 1980. Mansell being one of my favourite drivers, so I'm happy with that. So he's coming around the first corner now. And heading up one of the first overtaking opportunities, the long straight up until what is quite a difficult right hand bend to get the line right and not hit the curb on the inside, because it tends to throw you out. So it's taking a lot of entry, runs it out quite nice, bit of curb on the exit, that's a nice line through there. That's less of a nice line, bit of contact with the barrier, but carrying speed nonetheless. 45.2 in the first sector, so we'll remember that for the others that come through. And he's the first one to set a lap time. More contact with the wall. It's just a slight graze though, no damage done. Though being a French car, I wouldn't want to touch the wall with a French car, because it will just fold into pieces. And his number 14 Renault Megane there. Lights ablaze as he comes down towards the end of this tricky section. Bumps on the entry to that braking zone make that corner really treacherous. Now down the long straight, you just literally foot on the board. And then think about your braking point. And Hammy is the fastest through all the sectors at the moment. Welsh J with 47.6. Pyro with a 46.9. Morovi with a 45.9, Jackson with 45 46.57, and Frankie with 46.1 as Hammy now coming towards the end of this first flying lap. And he'll be the one to set the target for everyone else to try and beat. Although Vector has done a 2:24.7, I expect that to be beaten pretty soundly now. It is 2 minutes 10.6 for Hammy. So if anyone else is near the end of the lap, and Paul's gone second, although 12.4 off the pace, expect a bit more from him. Just for add confusion, Welsh J has also got the number 14 livery and goes second. Yeah, that helps. Pyro goes second now, but they're quite a way off Hammy at the moment. So they heading up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. Some more times coming in now, and Jackson 8:88, so we call him Jackson, it's easier, goes second, 3.1 off Hammy, so Hammy's done a really good time there. We still have Frankie in third place, Pyro 4th, Welsh J is 5th, Paul's slipped to 6th, but I expect more from him. Vector 01 is 7th. Let's just see if, here we go, someone crossing the line, and it's Kill. Can't say the rest. And he goes to 8th, the last of the qualifiers so far. Let's see if we can get anyone else. Green car coming quite close to the end of the lap. Who is that? And it's Harry. He's not having the best of times, if I'm honest. And the number 36, Renault. He'll come across the line. I don't know if this is going to be a lap time. Doesn't look like it. So a message from Nathan saying it's going to be quite treacherous in sector 2. As George comes across the line and starts the lap. So a lot of people haven't set lap times yet, and there's only 3 minutes left, so they'll probably get 1 or 2 bashes at this. Key starting his lap. Kev then goes 9th. Some gaps between the cars, so let's hope that'll close up before the end of this session. And again, Hammy with a great time. It's quite clearly the fastest at the moment, although doing things like that won't be fastest for long because they run out of car parts. But he's fastest in the first sector again with a 44.6, which is a lot faster than anyone else is getting. What about Vector then? He's also in that area, but he's staying away from the walls, and his car looks much cleaner for it. And here comes Frankie. Will this be an improvement? He's lit up both sectors, personal bests. And he goes 1.3 faster to go third place. A bit more like it. See if anyone's near the end of the lap. And Kill is pretty close to the end of the lap. He's just heading down towards now Murray's corner, the last corner. Having just negotiated the chase. Let's see what he can pull off. He's done 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors, so this should put him somewhere. Is it enough to get ahead of Paul? And it is. He beats Paul there. Paul, meanwhile, looks like he's got pace, but maybe just not hooked the lap up yet. And from the practice session I saw beforehand, he was fairly high up. Also, PS Scooby was also quite quick, and I've not seen him leave the pits yet, so obviously maybe some technical issues. And that's an improvement there for Vector 01, and he goes third. And George is also now found some pace, and he's up to second place, having set the fastest final sector of all. Just looking down the list, see if anyone else is going anywhere near the times that we're looking at. I'm looking for Paul, really. And Paul is actually on a good lap, so let's find Paul. He must be near the end of the lap, and he is. He's at Murray's corner. Heading around there now and across the line. So what's this going to do for Paul, who's currently 10th? And that's a big jump up to 3rd place, 2.3 off Hammy's amazing time, which is looking unbeatable. And the only person that Hammy will beat is himself by driving like that. That's pretty wild. It does seem to be his line through there though. Again, these are French cars, they don't really take a lot of abuse. A lot of personal bests being set though, and it's quite hard to figure out who to follow. Aha. There's a man on Morovi's at the end of the lap. Morovi 87 in the blue and white Megane, and that's not a lap, it must have been validated. George, personal best in the first sector again. This man's flying, he's picking up pace as this session goes on. Down into Forest Elbow, now the long drag down the Conrod straight towards the chase, and then as we know, Murray's corner, where it can always go wrong. He's only 4 thousandths off the pole time at the moment. If he can carry speed through the last sector, there's a chance he can nick pole from poor Hammy, who's led the session from the start. Let's see what he can do. Down into the chase, out of it, down towards Murray's. See, he's just got to get Murray's right. If he can carry enough speed through here, he'll steal pole position. What do we think? It looked pretty tidy to me. And he's done it by 0.2 of a second. Brilliant from George. Hammy's in the pits, cursing his luck. Paul's also in the final sector, but it's not looking like a stellar lap for him. George actually did the fastest sector in the final sector to steal that pole position, so yeah, that means we got a race on. And here comes Paul through, and has done a really stellar last sector. I can't see him improving. He's about to prove me wrong, no doubt, and he does. Stays 3rd, but now only 2 seconds off the pace as this qualifying session's coming to a close now. It's actually complete and we're just doing the countdown. A lot of people in the pits. Paul, we know, has finished his lap. Key is, I don't know what he's doing. He's missing major components of his vehicle. Does he record a lap time? No. What's left of this car is also making it round the lap of Morovi. Just needs to set a lap time, and he surely will. I don't think he's had his slowdown penalty, so it'll move him up a couple places from 13th. Somehow I'm 13th now without actually setting a lap time, so that's good. So that's your grid then. George is on pole, Hammy Mansell 2nd, Paul's 3rd, Jackson's 4th, Vectra 5th, Pyro Maniac is 6th, Frankie's 7th, Morovi's 8th, Welsh J's 9th, Kevin Stone's 10th, Kill is 11th, Key is 12th, I'm 13th, but we won't count that, so Scooby's 13th, Harry Boy is 15th. And there's your grid there, just to confirm that. So basically George nailed that in the final sector. Well done to him. Some interesting flag choices there, none of them seem to be true, except for Paul, because I spoke to him and I can tell he's Irish. So this race then, we're getting ready for, is a 7-lap race. Judging from what I've seen in qualifying, there's gonna be a lot of carnage. And yeah, let's see, as the guys are now on the grid, this is going to be wild. Let's bring up the map so you can see exactly where everyone is on the track. If you feel like dropping a message, drop a message and I'll respond to it, unless there's swearing, and then I'll just respond back with swearing probably. But like I say, this race is brought to you by Mature Racing Championship. If you like what you see, look at them on Facebook and join in, get involved in the races. Paul's a top lad and he'll sort you out anything you need to know. As we let everyone sink in. There shouldn't be a lot of setup work needed because these cars are pretty standardised. So it's just a reminder that George and Hammy share the front row. Can Hammy get a Mansell-esque start and just disappear into the distance and get revenge for qualifying? And it's Paul and Jackson on the second row, Vector and Pyro on the third, Frankie and Morovy in the fourth row, Welsh, Jay and Kevin on the fifth row. So let's wait to see what will happen in this, as I say, 7-lap race. Fittingly, the first corner is called Hell Corner, and I think we're going to see a lot of hell. Be interesting to see how, if Scooby can make progress. I think he's a dark horse for this race. I know his pace. It'll be interesting to see whether he can get through the pack. And here we go then. We're gearing up. 3 red lights and then it will go green. And we'll go. And that's the chaos ensue for Bathurst. And it's a terrible start for George. Oh no, it's a good start for George. It's Hammy that's made a right corker of it. And now the chaos will ensue in the background, I'm sure of it. Actually, I'll give everyone the due. They're all through. I'll take it all back. I'm really sorry. George leads. Hammy's already made up the ground that he lost at the start to catch back up to him. So we head now into Griffin's Bend. Paul's in third. Vector is fourth. Jackson is fifth. Pyro sixth. And still they're keeping it clean, and this is great racing. Morovy's still 8th, Welsh Jay is 9th, Kevin, and here's Scooby, the man I tipped to come through, as I know him very well. He's already up to 11th from the back. Let's see what he can do, but back to the front. It is still George from Hammy. As they come through Hammy's corner, and Hammy does what he did last time. As they come rattling through here. And there's a crash in the background. Who was that? Hitting the wall. And that was Kevin. But he seems to have recovered. As Harry brings up the rear, so to speak. With George now stretching his legs a little bit to Hammy. He seems very good through the Dipper, the S's and Skyline. Seems to pull a bit of a gap. Can Hammy bring it back in the last sector? And Paul's hanging on well as well. Behind, we've got Vector bringing up the second group, as it were, with Jackson hanging on. Pyromaniac as well, within striking distance, I suppose you call it. There's Frankie in 7th, Morovy in 8th, Scooby up to 9th already, making hay. Meanwhile at the front, and there's a change there for the lead. Hammy takes the lead. So it must have been a slowdown penalty for George. That's all I can think. Paul sideways. Almost collects George. There you go. There's a triangle next to his name, so that means they are in close combat. So I'll keep an eye out for those. Into turn 1, Hell's Corner. And it's a bit of a nightmare for George. He was seen to be pulling away, but he's obviously got a bit excited and either looped it or got a slowdown penalty. And here's the rest of the storm through. Morovy's got Scooby closing down on him very quickly. Let's see what he can do. Will he have an attempt into Griffin's Bend? He's looking down the inside. He'll go for that, I think. Nope, thinks better of it. But that's a shame for Morovy. Just overdid his braking, and Scooby straight down the inside. Now he's taking his time. Who's he got in front of him now? And it's Frankie. As Hammy sets the fastest first sector. Let's go back and see what. Let's wait with Scooby here, see what he's going to do. Can he overtake through these corners? He looks faster, but there's nowhere to overtake through here. Hammy now looking in charge of this race, 2.5 seconds in front of George. But we know George is very quick through these bends. Is that damage affecting him? That's the story. Paul's completely broadside through those corners. And Vector seems to be closing slightly on him. Jackson as well now has company, and it's Pyro. If I had someone called Pyromaniac behind me, I would be worried too. they go down the Conrod straight, and in the background you see PS Scooby, who's ever closing. He's 12 seconds off the lead though, so any chance of winning surely is gone. Hammy on the second lap, and the gap is sort of closed through that middle sector, so that's interesting. George does seem a little bit quicker through the second part of the lap, whereas Hammy seems a lot quicker for the first part of the lap. Paul's sort of just hanging on in the slipstream. And Vector as well, doing a good job in fourth place, looking consistent. Here's the battle pack though, and it's Jackson who's gone a bit deep into that corner, and he knows it. Instantly tries to defend from Pyromaniac, and now Scooby is completely on them. So let's watch this for a little while and see what happens. Fastest last sector for Scooby, which is a lot quicker than the race leader. So lap times that lap, and Hammy Mansell 2:11.0, just to give you an idea, and the rest about half a second off that and more. So Scooby now down the inside, and that should be job done, and he is past Pyromaniac. His next victim will be Jackson. Let's go back to the race leader, make sure he's still just a little clout of the wall, but again the fastest first sector. Looks like he's starting to pull a little advantage here as we enter lap 3, and we're about halfway through the race now. George looks like he's settled down a little bit now, and he's starting to gap Paul slightly. Vector has now dropped way back from Paul. Scooby though is he's already on Jackson, so he is some pretty stunning pace, and has actually set the fastest first sector by a long way. Full 8 tenths faster than the race leader. But just getting through the traffic's costing them a lot of time, so any chance he wanted of a podium is starting to run out. He needs to quickly offload Jackson and then go after the leaders. Jackson's made it hard for himself though, as he's hit the wall. He's gone wide, and that'll surely be easy for Scooby as he goes alongside him and through. Next victim is Vector, who's about 2.5 seconds up the road. Hammy into the final sector. It's looking again. George has pulled a lot of time back, or has he got a slowdown penalty? No. George just seems a little bit quicker in this final sector, as we've mentioned. Paul though seems a bit no man's land. He's not really in touch with the leaders. He's not going to get hassle from behind. Vector though is going to get hassle, and it's Scooby again straight past him. How did he do that? Scooby 10 seconds off the race lead. Surely that's too much. But he has come from the back. He got 6 seconds to make up to Paul, but he's just easily done the fastest lap, and he's been overtaking a lot of cars. So him and George are the fastest 2 cars on the track. So George took 3 tenths out of Hammy that lap. He's going to have to take a lot more than that if he wants to get involved with a win. So there's your leaders. Hammy ahead of George, Paul, and then Scooby, who I know is Nathan, but we'll call him Scooby for the benefits of this. Vector's not giving up though, still has him in his sights. The gap's still under a second. If only he had DRS. Jackson running a nice 6th ahead of Pyromaniac, who seems to have lost his charge. Kevin doing a decent job in 8th, with Welsh J in 9th. So this guy's just keeping the nose clean, hoping that some of the others hit trouble. Bit of drifting there from Welsh J. Frankie in 10th. Morovi seems to have faded slightly after a promising start. He's down to 11th. And Key is 13th. Harry's 14th, but has been in the pits for a while to fix damage. Back at the front, and we'll just look at the sector times and see what's going on. And again, Scooby's looking very, very quick in the first sector. He's 9 tenths quicker than the leader, so surely he can't close a 10-second gap with 3 laps to go. He's actually slower in the middle sector, so nope, I don't think he will be catching. So it's down to these two. Hammy versus George, and again it looks like George is a lot closer this lap. We'll look at the lap times as they come through. So start lap 5. Hammy, oh, he's a little bit sideways over the curb, it's dragged him off, and that's going to put George even closer. And there's the lap times now, so 2 minutes 12.1 plays a 2 minutes 11.1, but George has got a penalty, hence the red marker next to his name. And Paul on a 2:11.3, so he's not completely out of it. And Scooby with a 10.4, so he was the fastest man on the track again. But I think he's left it too late. It's going to be between these three guys. Paul's not. I wouldn't rule Paul out at this stage. If these two get together, and with George's penalty, which we'll have to have a look and see if I can see. It's a 1 second penalty. So though he's technically 2.2 behind Hammy, and Hammy in the wall. That's hard. That's a big hit. If that's not done damage, I'll be pretty amazed. Go through McPhillamy Park in towards Skyline. The S is the dipper that come at you really fast, and George is definitely closing in. Hammy's making too many mistakes, needs to keep his cool, and George now all over him. Let's go on board with George as he starts to close in on his victim. Hammy will surely know that George has got a penalty. So Paul's still involved in this as they go side by side down the Conrod straight. Oh, this could end in tears through the chase, but nope, George has got it done. Can Hammy respond on the brakes? He's looking, but there's nothing he's able to do. He's got his lights ablaze though. He's not finished with this. If he stays within a second, he can still win the race. Paul's just like, go on boys, have at it and see if I can get the win. Oh, he's late on the brakes, Hammy, and he almost drives straight into the back of George. He may even have touched him. It looked close. Side by side across the line. And in the background you can see Scooby coming ever closer. If these boys don't play their cards right, he will be in this battle. And with the pace he has, which is 10.4, and fastest last sector, he is definitely in this spot. He's not out of this race, you know. There's 2 laps to go, and at that pace he could get involved. Paul was easily the fastest of the front 3, but behind that Scooby was 1.5 seconds faster than Paul, and Paul's not got traffic, so Paul could have some problems with Scooby by the end of the race. If we look in the background, you'll see him. There he is. He's come from the back of the grid, remember. Obviously couldn't be asked to do qualifying or something along those lines. But George with Hammy now welded to his bumper. Hammy seems to have got his mojo back, and he's right on the back of the Renault Megane, or there's his favourite wall again. He's right on board, and you can't really get any closer than that, can you? Dropping down now through the dipper. Terrible corner that is. That was not much better. Ouch. And going into Forest Elbow, and that's a good line from Hammy, trying to get a run through the corner and get a run down on George. Doesn't seem to have worked though, because he clobbered the barrier on the exit, and they're actually catching Harry to lap him. How's Paul getting on? Seems to be holding Nathan pretty well. Another battle back here. Let's just have a quick look at this, and that's Frank, and he's on the back of Kevin. Oh, there's a crash in the background, and it's Welsh J. Meanwhile, back at the front, they're close again. And Paul now has Scooby in, and Scooby's lost it. He's crashed. He's bottled it. He's spun out of the last corner just as he was catching Paul. It looked like he was going to catch him, but he's ruined his chances. And now there's another slipstream battle on the mountain straight up towards Griffin's Bend. Hammy looking to repay the favour and get his first position that he feels is his back. Remember, there is penalties to be applied to George of 1 second, and down the outside goes. Ah, brilliant move. Take that. And he did take that and he got hit. Surely that was contact. Will he wait for them? Hammy is spun round. George carries on. Paul's there like, what's going on here? And crashes in sympathy. George not slowing down because he knows he's got a second penalty. So surely George has won the race now. There was the slightest bit of contact by the looks of, from what I could see. And that was just enough to spin the rear wheel drive Renault around. Doesn't take much. Anyone that's seen British touring cars and sees how easy it is to spin a BMW in that series can vouch for that. But Paul will now sniff a second place that it didn't really think was on about a lap ago. Meanwhile, how is Scooby getting on? Yeah, he's probably cursing his luck. So here's probably the only battle left on the track now, and it's Frankie and Kevin. These boys have been at it for most of the race, to be fair. We're on the last lap as well. And the leaders are dropping down towards the last few corners, so we'll join them shortly. We'll come back to this battle and see what happens, but it looks like George is going to win it despite his penalty. But there'll be some harsh words, I'm sure, after the race, after tapping what looked like Hammy into a spin. We'll say allegedly because I couldn't see it completely, but it did look that way. But George comes across the line to win the first race at Bathurst, the Mature Racing Club Championship, sorry. Mini series here with the Renault Megane V6s. Hammy comes home second. Paul Scooby's coming home third, and Paul's in the barrier. What's he doing that for? Trying to see what's happened, and he's lost third, he's lost fourth. Vectra takes fourth. Paul comes across the line fifth. Jackson sixth. Pyromaniac takes seventh. And the never-ending battle between Kevin and Frankie. This is going to go down to the last corner, but it looks like Kevin's got it sussed. Although Frankie's closing in the last corner, but he can't get the job done. So Kevin 8th, Frankie 9th, Welsh J is 10th. Morovi will bring an action-packed race to a close in 11th place. With no bumper. Obviously running the lighter weight version of the Renault Megane for this race. Kilorgi, I still can't say his name. Kill is going to be coming home 12th by the looks of it. Again with a lightweight version of the Renault. Missing some vital components there. But he'll take 12th. Somewhere on top of the mountain is Key 1976. Bring what's left of his car home 13th before the time runs out, hopefully. Not sure where Harry is. I think his race is over because he was lapped, so it's just Key to bring home. But what a race that was. And George timed it right. Whether there was contact, whether there wasn't, we're not sure, but it looked a bit controversial from where I was. Just see Key home for 13th place. Fastest lap incidentally went to George, 2 minutes 10.3, which is he's actually 1/1000th of a second quicker than PS Scooby. So that was some close racing there, and that's the end of that. So George wins despite his 1 second penalty. Hammy second. Scooby third, Vectra fourth, Paul, oh dear, Paul, fifth, thrown it away on the last lap despite driving really well. Sixth for Jackson, seventh for Pyromaniac, eighth for Kevin Stone, ninth for Frankie, and 10th for Welsh J. So that's Bathurst over with. I'll keep the stream going and I'll be back for the next race. So welcome back, and race 2 is from Hockenheim, and it's the short track that I haven't seen for a long time. I've seen DTM race there back in the day, and just speaking to Nathan whilst off air, and he's disappointed he threw that race away. He feels like he could have been in the battle for the win despite starting from the back, but I don't agree. I think Hammy and George were too fast for him to catch. But yeah, this is quite a fast-paced track, and we'll go to the monitor now and see who leaves the pits first. So there's 10 laps of this Hockenheim track. Let's get the time thing working here so I can see what's going on. And out of the pits first is Hammy, and he's already got a broken headlight. Not quite sure how he's managed that, but maybe he just doesn't need it. And Welsh J is out as well in the same coloured car, just completely confused me again. And Harry as well. So let's just follow Hammy around to get an idea of where the track goes. That seems like a horrible bend. I think Hammy's also trying to figure out where this track goes, or his car's grabbing. Just slowing down, trying to get an idea of where the track actually goes. It's not the usual Hockenheim track, and that's why everyone's struggling. There's George just checking out the grass to make sure it's been mowed properly. Yeah, and it seems to be up to his standards. That cone's in the way though. Moravi also, that must be some oil down that corner or something. And Vector's also found the grass to his liking. There's someone else in the back. Is anyone going to drive around this track? It's not rallycross, boys. There's Jackson, he seems to be getting a little bit further down the road. And Frankie's coming into that difficult corner as well. That looks a horrible corner, that's going to cause all sorts of issues. And yeah, lights up the tyres, which are probably stone cold. But anyway, let's get to someone that's on a lap time, and it's Hammy breaking into the second corner and just trying to keep control of his car. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of grip around, and his tyres are showing cold, so I think the first part of this really is to get used to the track, and then possibly push for a lap time in the closing stages of this 10-minute qualifying session. And into the stadium section, which is the same for every layout of this track, where everybody sits. As you can see, grandstand all the way around this section. So not many corner names for this track. You've got the Nordkurve, Mobile and Sudkurve and Sachs corner, but the rest of the short corners aren't named, and they're just terribly hard to drive. So coming across the line, the person that is on a lap is Welsh J. That's followed. Okay, I'm not even going to ask what happened there, but it didn't go well. George comes across the line to set the first representable time, if I can even say that word, and then celebrates by hitting the tyre wall. 1:15.6. Hammy now looks a bit more serious on this lap. That's proven by his first sector, which is 3 seconds faster than anyone else. Jackson's on a pretty good lap as well, so let's see. No, he's in the bits, so he can't actually. Oh no, there he is. Into the Sud curve and out of it, and across the line to hopefully post a lap time. Paul's gone second, 0.3 off George. Jackson goes fastest on a 1:11.7. What engine's he got? Oh. There seems to be some kind of magnetic attraction to people that complete lap times into that wall. Into second place goes Kill, and he stayed away from that wall. Hammy goes second. And he set the first and second fastest sectors, and then it all went wrong in the third, so he probably had a spin. Here's Paul. I'm not sure if he's improving, doesn't look like it. He might have had a moment in the second sector. Let's see if anyone's on any sort of lap. There's Welsh J, how's he getting on? No, he's on an out lap. Hammy Mansell fastest in the first sector, let's follow him, but he's about to hit traffic, a lot of it. Let's bring up the map to see how many cars he is behind. 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4 or 5 cars in that. Looks like 4. Hopefully he can get the lap done as he enters the sud curve and onto the front straight. Just about get the lap done by the looks of it before he gets bulked. Fastest in both sectors. Translate into the fastest time by just your 6.5 seconds. So it's fairly close. Morovi's gone second. So again, showing some good qualifying pace. And ooh, nice bit of control there from Vectra, named after possibly the worst boxer on the planet. Then Kill is in 6th. Oh, that's not going to help. And I think that's Hammy actually just behind him. No, it's not. George is now up to second, 1.9 off the pace. This track looks pretty slick at the moment. And what's going on here, I dread to think. Looks like Scooby and Morovi getting there close and personal. Just looking to see if anyone's on a particularly good lap. Vectra's gone pretty quick in the first sector. Let's see if we can pick him. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, this is one way to enter the corner. I'm not sure if that was on purpose, but you don't get any extra points for that, and that definitely wouldn't get you any extra points. So Vectra on a fairly decent lap. Let's see how he gets on. He's got a car up behind him. See if a Hammy or could be Hammy. No, Hammy's here. Yep, it is Hammy. Take it all back. But let's follow Vectra. He's on a pretty good lap. Scooby goes 7th, setting the fastest final sector. A bit more like it from the last qualifying session when he just basically plain couldn't be asked to leave the pit lane. Vectra, a bit of traffic, seemed to get out of his way okay. And then he's just decided to go see the crowd and retire to the pits. 2 minutes left of this qualifying session then. Hammy leads by a margin of 1.9. George needs to try a bit harder and get a bit closer. And not cut the track. Meanwhile, Scooby is lighting up the first sector and has hit traffic. He's lit up the second sector and lit up his tyres too. Almost swapped ends. These cars are a bit tricky around this track. It doesn't seem like the tyres are really up to the job at the moment. It's catching a lot of people out. Scooby though is being bulked. And across the line it's still fastest by 3 tenths despite being held up for like basically the whole final sector, and he's almost bottled it. Hammy is redecorating the track. Probably at the shock of losing pole. Meanwhile George is redesigning his car. Still in 3rd place overall. Paul's found a Renault lawnmower to use. He's in 4th. Morovi's 5th, looking a lot sharper in this race than the last one. Vectra 6th, back out on track after abandoning the last lap. Frankie is 7th with Scooby just getting out of his way. Jackson in 8th, hitting the rev limiter on the way down to this appallingly sharp corner. And there's Kevin. He's 9th. Killing 10th. Key in 11th. Pyromaniacs 12th. He was pretty good in the last race, so expect a bit more from him. And he's actually gone pretty good in the first sector, so oh dear. Oh dear. I think he's forgotten which track this is. He's heading off into the woods on the old track. And that won't do him any favours, especially with 20 seconds left. He needs to hustle round and get a final lap in, because if he can do it, I think he'll jump halfway up the grid. Harry's just a little bit off the pace, to be honest. Struggling to find consistency. I'm in the pits, probably the safest place to be right now. But Scooby is on a lap, fastest. Hello to Rob as well, seems to be watching. But Scooby's gone back to the pits, abandoned that lap. Here's Hammy, the only man that you think could possibly challenge Scooby, but seems to have got trouble in the first sector, and that's more of it. You have to wonder what's going through some of these drivers' brains right now. And oh look, there's someone else on the grass. That's Vectra practicing his donuts for the end of the race. Even if he doesn't win, I'm sure he's got that covered now. Pyromaniac is... oh, someone else has jumped up. And that's Welsh J's up to 7th. Good lap from him. A couple more across the line. Paul's actually slipped to 5th at the end of the session. Frankie is shot up to 4th. No one else seems to be on a lap, to be fair. So it looks like the end of it. Pyromaniac didn't actually manage to get it together. He will start 10th. Kevin will come across the line. He's 11th at the moment, stays there. I think that's your lot. And it is. So Scooby on pole. Despite being held up in the last sector, so you'd have to say he's favourite for the race. Hammy's 2nd, George is 3rd, Frankie 4th. Come back to that in a second. Ooh, there we go. Yep, so Frankie will start 4th, Paul will start 5th, Morovi starts 6th, Jackson 7th, Welsh J 8th, Vectra is 9th, Pyromaniac 10th, Kevin's 11th, Kills 12th, Key 13th. You had to be together, didn't you? 14th Harry, and then we will see how this race progresses. My money's on Scooby, but I said that the last race. It's going to be the run down to the Nord curve for the first time, and we'll see in this 10-lap race who will lead through there. There's going to be a fair amount of chaos, I'm pretty sure of it, especially with that horrible hairpin halfway around the lap. I don't think one car can get through there, let alone 3 or 4 side by side, so we're going to have to watch that. It's definitely a danger zone. I'm going to call it Useless Corner, because it hasn't got a name, so we'll just call it Useless, because it's so tight. But this should be a fast-paced race. It's only 10 laps around a real short circuit. Should be readying up anytime soon. This is the second round of this. Any moment now, should be getting ready to start. And here we go, everyone's syncing up. The lights will go to red, with 3 red lights, then to green, and we're away. And it's a great start by the looks of it from the second row. And that's George and Hammy, and oh my good god, oh yeah, and half the grid have crashed into each other. Hammy though, still not done. He's now hit the other car of his. Absolute chaos. Vector into the side of Pyromaniac by the looks of it. Cars arriving in the background side, completely broadside. Harry, Frankie, Morovi, who had an excellent qualifying, completely all in the gravel there. Scooby seems to be escaping while this madness is happening. And there's another crash there in the background. And that's George again. George is having a miserable start to this race. There's a car off sightseeing in the background. More contact. Frankie's car looks like it's been in a ram raid. Vectra is still only halfway on the track while everyone else is finishing the lap. So he's had a miserable start. But the only man that seems to have got away is Scooby, and he's got a 2-second lead over Paul, who's come up from 6th on the grid, so that tells you everything. Hammy's somehow got through all that, despite being in the wall on the start-finish straight in 3rd. Welsh J miles back in 4th. Jackson 5th. Pyromaniac 6th. George, with what's left of his car, is 7th. Keys 8th. Morovi's 9th. And Killing 10th. But Hammy now all over the back of Paul. This already seems to be a battle that's going to be set for the race. Scooby looks like he's in a different league, to be honest with you, at the moment. As he pulls away into Useless Corner. Around out and into the stadium section. Hammy now just looking for his opportunity to pounce. And a new lightweight version of the Renault Megane without the bumper. Another battle here is George now coming back as well. He's on the back of Pyromaniac. Don't hit him, he will explode. Doesn't listen to me, does it anyway. Carries the car. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, that's a bit naughty, that. So George will probably, yeah, he's just going to drive off, isn't he? Hammy though, onto the back of Paul still, waiting for his opportunity to pounce. Meanwhile, there's all sorts going on in the midfield. Welsh J and Gal, there's a spin in the back of Rovi's having a dog day. Spun again after a good qualifying. It's all going wrong as he smashes into the side of Vectra because he came onto the track without even looking where he was going, which is not ideal. And that's worse. Yeah, and I would do the same if I was Vectra and he's left the session in disgust. Pierre Scooby leads. Hammy now up to 2nd. He's passed Paul. I knew he'd do it when I wasn't looking. And he is now setting after Paul, Pierre Scooby. And he seems to have good pace. It's working on lap 3 now. So out of the last corner. George is also making hay as well. He's up to 5th after the dramatic start. 1 minute 4.1 for Scooby. 1 minute 4.3, so Hammy not quite got the pace. And Paul dropping back. Jackson doing a great job in 4th place. But it has got George, one of the fastest guys in his slipstream. Looking down the inside in the first corner, Jackson doesn't fight it. He's quite happy to take the 5th. And he's got a 10-second gap back to Welsh J. Then Frankie. Key, who's recovering from another spin. Pyromaniac, who's self-destructed. And we got Kill in 10th, right out the top 10. Harry's struggling around. Kevin's recovering, and so same could be said for Morovi. Jackson then just hoping to get a bit of track knowledge from George, just follow him around, but George seems to be on a mission. Where's Paul though? Paul's out of sight, he's 10 seconds behind Paul, so fair gaps now between the drivers as Scooby comes across the line again. It's another new fastest lap at 1 minute 3.4. Hammy can't match that. I hear a lot. What do I hear there? I hear something. Who's that spinning? Oh, that's Kevin. He's a lap down. I thought I heard a car spin. I just wasn't sure where it was. Hammy though, pretty safe in 2nd now already. Paul's dropping back in a safe 3rd. But we said that in the last race. Don't drop it, mate. George 4th. Roughly around Paul's pace, so doesn't look like he can catch him. The only battle I can see is Morovi catching Key. Key's done it again like he did last lap. Dropped it on the downshift into the Sud curve, and he's lost all those positions and out of the top 10. It's unlucky for him. Maybe needs to move his brake bias forward a little bit. He's locking the rears. Meanwhile, Pyromaniacs, oh dear. It's unlucky. This looks pretty interesting. So we got Harry, who seems to be just picking up places by everyone trying to kill each other. Although that's not really the line through turn 1. And here's Scooby trying to lap Pyromaniac by the looks of it. Having done a 103.8 the last lap through. Surely Pyromaniac should be getting out of the way, and he does. That's allowed Hammy to close just a little bit. Paul doing a good lap as well, 106.4 the last time through, and doing a better lap this lap. George in no man's land, about to try and lap Harry. I'll treat Harry like the back of a kicking donkey, to be honest with you. Doesn't seem completely in control of his car. Lap 7 then, and Scooby Duck with a big lead until he did that. Yep, about a 7.5 second lead, so he can afford a few of those moments. Hammy now second with the lights on. There's traffic in front. Paul's still in touch. He's not too far away, but he's going to need a mistake from Hammy to really have a charge at him. The only battle that's on track at the moment is Morovia and Pyromaniac. They're fairly close, but they're also getting lapped. Pyromaniac looks a bit dodgy through this section. Into the Sachs curve where he can get around there, but Vettel can't. And Welsh J seems to be closing in on Jackson. Jackson had it made, but he's... oh! Jackson holds on to the place. But Welsh J seems like he's got the upper hand. He's a lot faster on lap time. The last lap he was nearly 3 seconds faster, so this should be a slam dunk. But still, Jackson's doing a fine job. So we're running out of session time. I'm not really sure why that is. It's obviously been some sort of mistake. I'm not really sure why. And the race has been completed. Oh, it must have been a 7-lap race. Ha! I knew that. Yeah, I was on that. So Scooby wins. Hammy second, Paul third, George fourth. Jackson does hold off Welsh J for fifth, Welsh J sixth. Frankie will bring it home seventh. Killer is already finished, so only the top 7 didn't get lapped. Yeah, sorry about that. I was yeah, I thought it was a 10-lap race, but it isn't, is it? That's the information I've got anyway. So just to confirm, Scooby, Hammy, Paul, George, Jackson, Welsh J, Frankie, Kill, Pyromaniac and Marovi, top 10. Again, I'll take a short break and then we'll be ready for the next race, which I will check the laps this time to make sure I've got it right. And it's Knock Hill, and that is 10 laps. So yeah, my information did say Hockenheim was 10 laps, so that's what's caught me on the hop there. So obviously it's been a change at the last minute. And I've just received a middle finger from Scooby for winning that race after I slagged him off for not winning the last one. So we'll be back for the next race, which is Knock Hill.
losing is far greater than the fear of being hurt, and that means that you've very much got to weigh up your opponents to see where they are, and you're wheel to wheel with these guys. If they're in a strong situation, their car is running well, and you're both in a good position, at that point it's like playing high-speed poker. All you can do is try and gauge the profile of your opponent right, and hope that you've hope you come out in front of him.
So here we are, we're back for the third race. It's at Rouen-les-Escarts short circuit. Long circuit used to be used for Grand Prix racing in the 60s and 70s, but obviously became too dangerous when people realised they were going to die a lot. So this is the short version of that track, which is, you can actually drive past these days on the road. The grandstands are still there, but obviously no one races there anymore apart from local hooligans. So this race will be pretty vital to who wins this series. And the pit lane looks too narrow for anyone to get out of, so it's not a good start. Let's see if anyone can leave the pit lane. And yep, Scooby has, so let's just follow him around this track to get an idea of which way it goes. Head down this long straight then. This is turn 2. Then you head in towards what's called Virage des Six Frères. I don't know what that is either. Through there, and then it all tightens up towards the Virage de Nouveau Monde, which is a hairpin bend. And there it is. That looks horrendous. And then you head back uphill through the technical part of 6 and 7. 7 being called the Virage Samson. God knows why that is. And that's going to be a big crash. There you go. Oh dear. Well, no, this could only get worse. there's lights flashing, people are not happy. And it's Hammy, and he was flashing his lights to say get out of the way, and then crashes himself. Oh dear. Yeah, Frankie is coming around, and he's heading up the hill towards Coupe de la Chute. Can't say that. And this is the fast part of the track. Scooby's already caught up with him and has put it on the... Oh my god, what is he doing? And that's a corner. And that's the pits. So round one of the last corners, the Virage de Cressel, and then we've got the Virage de la Autoroute. I'm just murdering the French language here, sorry. And the Virage de la Côte, and then into the last corner, which would be the Virage de Paradis, which is also a pretty tight corner. I think he's heading towards that now, and then we start the lap. Really, really tight corner. So off he goes. Let's follow him for this lap from the cockpit view. So head into this really fast turn one, which is going to be quite hard to judge how much speed you can take. You need to stay off those curbs on the right and left because they are pretty treacherous. He's carried way too much speed into there, and he's hit the barrier, bounces off the wall. Let's follow someone with some skill, hopefully, and it's Key. See how he gets on through. Not well. Oh, he's lost his bumper and he's stuck in the rut there, and that looks like Morovi. Let's see if he can make the lap. Treacherous track. This doesn't look like the easiest of tracks for these Renaults. And also the tyres are looking pretty cold. Scooby, the feedback I did get from the last race was that the tyres were pretty horrendous and it was quite hard to put the power down. There's more proof of that. And that is actually Paul that's stuck it in the hay bales there. It gets going anyway. Trying to see if anyone's doing any laps, but Morovi's fastest in the first sector, and he's the one that looks like he knows where he's going a little bit more than anyone else. Heads around about halfway around the track now, into now the technical section. It's got corners that's slightly tighten more and more as you head round, almost like a 90-degree, but the corners tighten. As you can see, that it's quite easy to get that wrong. And this one at the end is the tightest of all. And there's bits of Renault and cones flying, and that guy's not even seen that he's on a lap. Now does duly get out of the way by crashing into the hay bales. That's kind of stuffed Morovi's lap slightly, and that's not going to help either, but carries the speed, let's just say that. Heading towards the end of the lap. Scooby's gone fastest on a 59.9, but I think Morovi's going to beat that. Heading now down into the last corners, if not the last corner, which is probably the slowest corner other than the hairpin. And across the line, see if Morovi can go fastest with this. Hammy's gone second. Morovi goes fastest, half a second quicker than Scooby. So he did know where he was going. That's good driving. Who else was fast? George is pretty fast pedaler. Let's see how he's doing, but I think he's the one that stuck it in the wall at the first corner it was. Paul, we know his lap was compromised. And now he's compromising George a little bit. Oh, that's a switch here. He's got it. Managed to catch it. Good driving. Who else is on a fairly decent lap? Kevin looks like he's about to finish on a lap. He is. He'll probably go fourth for this. Yeah, 11 seconds off. No shame on that around this track. Should see anyone else is close. Kill is pretty close to the end of the lap, and he's actually coming up the last corner to complete the lap, and Jackson's behind him. See where this puts these guys. Probably in and around Hammy, I would say. Yep, into fourth place for Kill, and Jackson goes nowhere at all. She stays 10th. Obviously that was an invalidated lap, I would have said. Scooby though is flying in the first two sectors. The lights ablaze into the last corner. lights him up, gets a bit sideways, loses the back end, but should be good enough for pole. Or provisional pole, we'll say that. Will he go quicker than Marobi? Yes, by 3.6 seconds. Seems to be learning the track now. Frankie, meanwhile, has gone into third place. Missed that, sorry Frankie. Trying to see if anyone else is actually getting a lap together. George seems to be getting the hang of this now and is heading into the final corner. A lot of understeer, it's snapping to oversteer. That does seem to be the way it is with these tyres on this car. Take a while to warm up, but once they do, you get plenty of grip. It's just getting the heat into them. And across the line for George, goes fourth. That's important for him. Here's Jackson. It looks like he's heading down towards the middle part of the lap. Oh, that's going to hurt. These boys are keeping Renault in business with body parts. Welsh J doing a good job, bombing along in third. Scooby's going even faster in the first sector. Coming up to the second sector now, I would say. Pretty close to it. Looks like he's going to be pretty unstoppable in this session. And yep, faster again in the second sector, 50.7. Just to give you an idea, that's about 3 seconds faster than the rest. He's like 3 seconds faster in the first and second sectors, so I don't think anyone's going to be beating Scooby as he heads into the final corner. If he's careful with the throttle when he is, his tyres are starting to get up to temperature. You can see that in the top right. Blue means cold, green means warm, and they're slowly heading towards green, and this is going to be a stunning lap. And it is a 52.5. He's 6.5 seconds quicker than Paul, who's snuck into second place. There's plenty of time on the table for these guys. They just got to find it. Marobi seems to have gone a bit quicker in this first sector. George is also going pretty well in the second. Paul's gone pretty quick in the second as well. So let's see what Paul can do as he heads now down towards the line. Can he slash the gap between himself and Scooby? Looks like he can, and in the background it looks like it's George. So Paul goes 5 seconds off pace. George comes across the line, stays third, 6.3 off. Hammy goes fourth, 6.7 off. Anyone else? There's Kevin. Can he finish off his lap? He's on a pretty decent pace. Marobi is also going pretty quick, but Kevin's a bit further up the road. Let's see how he does first. It's horrible last corner. You just got to stay off those curves. It's so treacherous. Across the line he goes. This might bump him up a couple places, maybe one. It does put some past Kill. Marobi, does he go any faster? Yes, he does, up to third place. Good lap for Marobi. Again, he seems to be able to do the qualifying laps. His qualifying is now finished, by the way. He seems to manage qualifying laps, but just needs to get it together in the race, and he'll get a decent finish. Hammy's not particularly gone well in this track. As Scooby goes faster again in the first sector, but abandons the lap. But Hammy's will count if he can finish it off. He's on a pretty good first sector, the sort of sector that will get him second place. Second sector not quite as quick as Paul. See if he can finish it off. I'm imagining the series points he needs this. See if he can jump up into second place. It's a good exit. It looks good to me. I think this could be good for second place. And across the line for Hammy. And it is second place. Called it right. 4 seconds off Scooby, who looks like he's in a different league on this track again. Just seems to have the seems to have the handling of the cars sorted. And he's just commented that he really does like this track, but the curbs are completely treacherous. They are, ever since the last patch of Project Cars 2, the curbs do seem like ice on any track, which is slightly annoying in some ways. You should be able to run the curbs slightly. These aren't really curbs, they're kind of like from the 60s and 70s where they're just curb stones really. Even got some pebbles there, look, that's alright. So that's qualifying over. Scooby's on pole, Hammy's second. Good effort from him in the final reckoning. Paul's third, Morovi's fourth again, so decent qualifying. Can he make that a finish? George's fifth, Welsh J sixth, Frankie in seventh, Jackson eighth, Kevin ninth, Kill in 10th, Key in 11th, they're together again, and Harry will bring up the rear, so to speak, in 13th place. And there it is, just to confirm. And I'm guessing this is 7 laps, but I was wrong last time. So it was, we'll get ready now for the start of the race. And I'm expecting Scooby to run and hide, but the battle for second will be good between Hammy, Paul and Morovi and George. I'm expecting them guys to be pretty close. It'll probably come down to who makes the least mistakes. The tyres will be up to temperature before the start, so that's going to help matters. Go out with tyres that are cold in qualifying, but the race they seem to start warm. Only Project Cars know why that is. Like I say, this is an old school track from the 60s and 70s, hence the hay bales in a Goodwood style. But all the best tracks were from that decade, those decades. Instead of having runoffs, you had a farmer's field or something like that to stop yourself. Right, here we go then. So the usual story, 3 red lights and then the green, and we'll see battle commence. We should see Scooby running to the distance, but this is racing, and this is why we do it, and that's a great start from Hammond. Scooby's bottled it at the start there, totally bogged down. And Hammy leads into the first corner. Scooby's second, big crash in the background. And that's George, and that is Frankie on his roof, and that is game over. George is having not such a fun time of things. Frankie has got going. More crash, more cars. Cars everywhere. Many cars. One of them's Hammy. I'm sure of it. Yes, there is. Hammy and Paul have crashed. Frankie's got past them. So that's put Scooby into an easy lead. Welsh J is up to second. That's shocking. Half the field have crashed in the first 2 corners. But away with it is Scooby as predicted, although he didn't get the start. Welsh J is probably pinching himself to find he's in second place. Jackson in third. That guy seems to make the most of opportunities that are given to him. With his pace not being the fastest, but he does tend to keep the thing on the track, and that seems to be important with this racing series. Kevin's in fourth, and I think he started 10th, so that gives you an idea of the scale of the crashes in the first couple corners. Kill's in fifth. Frankie, despite being on his roof about 20 seconds ago, is in sixth, with Hammy and the recovering Paul in 7th and 8th. Key in 9th, George 10th. Paul Morovi's done it again, he's in 11th place, and Harry is very much last and redesigning Rouen. But Scooby's away with it, about to complete lap 1 of the 7 laps predicted. We have already a massive lead over Welsh J, just entering the last corner. And there's Jackson, Kevin, Kill, and here's Frankie with Hammy and Paul right on his tail now, so we will watch this battle with interest. Looked like a mistake from Kill as well, because that brought Frankie right off the back of him. But Hammy looks to have more speed down the front straight. Can he attack him to turn 1? Contact's probably the wrong use of word. Survive. This looks like a good battle now. Frankie looking down the outside of Kill, trying to overtake. This is a really tricky corner, and just to prove my point, Kill's gone off. And he'll drop in behind Paul. So he's managed to let those guys through anyway. And Frankie up to 5th. Again, I'm quite impressed with that, considering he was on his head. And a good cut back there from Hammy. Although contact, quite unnecessary really, but Hammy back up to 5th on a recovery drive. Now it's down to Paul to also make that move. Let's get an idea of what he's up against. Travelling behind Frankie. Frankie's doing a good job, like I say, to come back from what was a pretty awful accident. Doesn't get any worse than rolling into view of the camera. Through this nasty kink, it's always hard to judge how much speed to carry through there. This is the main battle of the race so far. And Frankie's messed it up and Paul is through. So Hammy already onto the back of Kevin by the looks of it. He's closing in fast. Welsh J is lost second place to Jackson, who the ever consistent Jackson. Say his pace is not electric, but look at his panel. Look at his car panels. There's not a dent on it. Probably cursed him now. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the middle of France, here's Scooby with a 16, nearly 17 second lead. Jackson comes across second, Welsh J third, Kevin with Hammy part of his car in 4th and 5th. Hammy making the move. This is going to be ballsy, and he thinks better of it, and quite rightly. Excuse me. Paul, though, like I say, is past Frankie, and oh, that's a big. Oh, he crashes in sympathy. Hammy. Oh, there's a big hit. Airtime. Paul slammed into the front of him. What a crash. That's got to be crash of the night. I don't think you get an award for that. Although Paul might put it into his pocket and get you a trophy for that one. What happened to Paul? God only. Oh, and it's still going on. Frankie's into the side of Paul. Hammy's gone off again. There's bits of Renault litter in the track in the middle of France here. Frankie's like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm back in 5th. I'll take that. Kills into 6th. Paul's 7th with what's left of his car, with George now up to 8th, Hammy 9th. All that good work's gone to waste. George, though, is on the recovery up to the back of Paul. Welsh J is. It's raining Renault. That's all I can say. There's bumpers litter in the track. And Jackson still, he's lost his front bumper, so yeah, I knew I'd curse him and say that there's not a dent on his car, and he'd instantly destroy it, and the back one's gone as well, yeah. So yeah, sorry Jackson. But he does seem like he's just keeps the car on the road, waits for everyone else to fall off it. It seems inevitable at some stage. Kevin also, like I say, he started 11th from my memory, which is horrendous. And he's in 4th, did a fine job. Frankie, first of the crashes, is 5th. Paul and Hammy are together again. And after what happened last time, it's probably not a good idea. 6th and 7th, with George also one of the faster guys in 8th. Kills in 9th. Morovi's recovering in 10th. He seems to always get the worst of the luck. I feel sorry for the guy. Harry's 11th and Key is 12th. Probably was. Oh, there he is. That's Scooby. Scooby's now 25 seconds in the lead. He might be able to lap the whole field the way this is going. Jackson second there with Welsh J all over him. Welsh J is slightly quicker by the looks of it, but slightly less consistent, as proven there. Kevin also probably with the straightest Renault on the track. Frank with the less straightest Renault, if that's even English. Oh, contact in the background. George and Paul are at it again. And that was a bit of a dive bomb, but it worked. Paul's like, I remember that, and I'll think about it at the next corner, but can't pull it off. Top of the curb for just sympathy, really. But he'll look to return the favour, but hitting that curb on an entry to a corner is never a good idea, and that's what happens. Makes the back end step out, and you lose control of the car. And here's his old mate, Hammy. Morovi there is on for the back of Kill. And while Scooby seems to have had quite a slow lap, I'm not really sure why that is. Jackson now well clear in second, so Welsh J, who's still having an accident, is third and a long way back now. So that's probably his charge over. And Scooby though, and again with the cleanest Renault you've ever seen, especially in the races tonight. Pulling well clear now. Welsh J hasn't given up on Jackson though, and if he can keep his pace, and he can probably catch him and overtake him, but trying to stay out of trouble seems the hardest part. Here's Kevin in fourth with George closing very, very, very quickly. George turning in some fast pace now. Or was. Oh, that just seems to be his line through there. Frankie, the evergreen Frankie, is sixth. Hammy and Paul still trying to decide who's going to finish ahead of who. 7th and 8th. No real battles on the track at the moment, but George probably will catch Kevin this lap, so let's watch that. Just seems to be catching at quite a fast rate, and yep, and Frankie's not that far back either. Key pulls out of the way to let these guys go through, and it should be a matter of time before George goes through, and he does it in the braking for that horrible kink. Kevin said, I've got a straight Renault and I don't want anyone to hit it. Oh, that was interesting driving from George. So not only it takes, oh, Hammy is not content until he's hit everyone on this track. Just Frankie to go then. He'll hunt him down and see if we can get him as well. But a bunny hop from Hammy there just to complete the job. Frankie now will try and overtake Kevin, the curse of the Kevin. Every time someone goes past him, they instantly hit disaster. So he's being circumspect. Seems like Kevin's gone wide. Frankie will get the cut back, and does. Now it's a drag race down the front straight. In the background, George is having another accident. And Paul's hit him just to make sure that he knows he's there this time. Frankie is past, and he's bringing Hammy with him. That looks like chaos. And they put poor Kevin into the wall, and his car is no longer pristine. This looks horrendous. This is going to be a big crash. And it is. It's George again with a massive accident. Now Kevin's car is completely ruined. Interesting about where they could have gone there. There's 3 into 1 won't go, and George didn't lift out. Give him that. Didn't back off. Meanwhile, Jackson's just cruising along. Second place. Welsh J is backwards in third. Not a good strategy to finish in that position. But he's got such a gap behind him because of Hammy and Frank and Paul and Kevin all knocking basically chunks out of each other. If he just keep it together, he should secure a good third place here, a podium. Jackson now seems well settled in second. Scooby starts his last lap with damage, so he's been off. It's the first of the madmen, and it's Hammy. Now ahead of Frankie. Pulls round again. And that's gonna... Wow. Kevin's like, you stop hitting my car. stopped and wheel spinning. Bit of a burnout for the crowd. We just let George through. I can hear a car stopped. And it's, well, it looks like it's Kevin. And it is. Round the outside goes George. Takes away 7th place, but here is your leader. And probably winner. In fact, definitely your winner. It's got enough fuel, unlike some races I could mention. Just coming up to lap key by the looks of it. He seems to be going around with the pit limit on. But the race is nearly over, and thank God for that, because that was a crash fest. Fastest middle sector for Scooby on this lap, just the showboat into the last corner, and a certain victory. Scooby crosses line, back-to-back race wins, and quite easily so in the end. Although it does seem like there's more laps. I wish they would tell me the right laps. Apparently there must be a 10-lap race. So that means there's 3 more laps of this. There's Jackson. So it's not, he may not have secured 2nd place with a driving like that, he really won't. Welsh J does seem slightly faster, but more accident prone, like I've said. Hammy though absolutely storming along now. It's about 4 seconds or 5 seconds or faster than the guys in front of him, so we can just keep it together, he will catch them. And here's Frankie in 5th, no longer under attack. Paul, then George, big gap there as well. Morovi's homing in a little bit on George. Here's Kevin, who's going to file an insurance claim against Paul and the others after this race. Or maybe himself. And the rest a long way back. Scooby coming through, and it's difficult to know how many laps there are, but I think there's 10. The last corner for another lap. 2 more to go. And it's just a matter of how far he's going to win by. The others are literally halfway around the lap. Scooby crosses the line. Still Jackson's holding on, but Welsh J is closing, and closing fast. About 3 seconds the last lap through. So with a 5-second deficit, it's still possible we can do it. Got to remain on the track though to do it. It's almost on a personal best lap time. Hammy also going along really well, and he's not too far off Welsh J, so they all might come together at, well, I hope not like that, in the last lap. Frankie's doing okay, but Paul is not. And that was a handstand, and I'll give that a 7 out of 10. Would have been better if all 4 wheels are in the air. And that's put George onto his tail once more. Seems to be an ongoing duel. But I think the battle will now be Jackson versus Welsh J versus Hammy. Last lap times through. They're all on target to meet each other at the end. Although that looked a bit wild, and it was Hammy, and he's dropped it again at that corner, but sort of got away with it. And now Jackson can, in fact Welsh J can see Jackson, and that always helps when you're trying to chase someone down. How long will it be until we see Hammy in the background? I suspect not very long. driver Jackson then, just to see how this unfolds. 1.5 laps away from finishing second, and he's been there most of the race. Feel sorry for him if he lost it now. I think it's slightly inevitable that Welsh J will catch him. He's on his personal best lap. Jackson's nowhere near it. But Scooby is on his last lap and halfway round it as these guys finish this lap. Jackson's softly approach, might have to get out the window for the last lap, he might have to push. So there's Welsh J, and I called it, Hammy is on the same straight now. But I think he's probably not quite going to get onto the back of this battle. Jackson does 2:01, Welsh J at 58.2. Hammy does a 57.7, so he's not quite fast enough. Although we did see him completely broadside in one corner, so it's probably where the time went. All down to Welsh J whether he can take second place from Jackson on this last lap. I don't think there's too many other battles. Frankie's got a good gap and pull. George, Morovy having another nightmare race. But here's Scooby as he comes down to the last corner to win the race and back-to-back victories, I'm sure of it this time. That's the job done. A weave of satisfaction there from Scooby as he almost hits the pit wall. Meanwhile, let's get back to this second place battle, and deep there from Jackson. That's only going to invite Hammy onto him. Welsh J, sorry, not Hammy. Same car. Can he hunt him down? Let's see. Right on board. There's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Oh, that's wild. Keeps it. About 4 corners left for Welsh J to do something about Jackson. Just like I say, just going along, keeping it together. It seems inevitable that Welsh J will have a go down into the last corner. He's looking, he thinks about the inside, doesn't do it. Jackson's gone deep, I'm sure of it. He's gone way too deep. He's off into Germany. That's unfortunate for him. I feel sorry for him, but Welsh J applied the pressure and Jackson broke under it. Second place for Welsh J, he'll be well pleased with that. Jackson at least is on the podium. Just about holds off Hammy. He must have had another spin on that lap. Unlucky for Jackson. Hammy third. Oh, look at this. Frankie with George and Paul in hot pursuit as they head into the last corner, and that's deep from George. He almost rams Frankie, gets the cut back on the power too soon and spins into the fence. Paul will take that 6th place. Frankie 5th despite being flying through the air in turn 1. Didn't know Renault made airplane, but 6th for Paul, 7th for George. Morovy doesn't look like he's going to finish the race with only 10 seconds left, so Morovy will be 8th, Kevin 9th, Kill in 10th. Key wasn't really driving around, let's be honest, and Harry didn't make the end of the race. But a win for Scooby. Scooby the winner, Welsh J 2nd, Jackson 3rd, Hammy in 4th, Frankie 5th, Paul in 6th, George 7th, Morovy 8th, Kevin 9th, and Kill 10th. Some interesting driving there, and I think the cars spent more time in the air than they did on the track. But Scooby the clear winner by just your 1:06 there. So yep, I think there's one more race to come at Knock Hill, so we'll be back for that one. So we're just to confirm, I've had it through from Paul that that is the last race, so we're just waiting to confirm who's won the series. I would say it's probably Scooby, given his, I think it was his 4th place at Bathurst and then 2 wins. So we'll wait for Paul to come back with that, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Scooby with the series win there. So we'll just wait for the results to be finalised from Paul. But yeah, some interesting driving there, a lot of mistakes, a lot of crashes, but that's what makes it interesting. And yeah, we can confirm that Scooby is the winner. And yeah, thanks for joining us. This was a Mature Racing Championship broadcast, and join us again. I'm sure there'll be future events which possibly I'll commentate on if Paul is happy with the job I've done tonight. So yeah, thanks for watching, and like I say, check out Mature Racing Championship on Facebook. Paul Roach is your man for that, or Roche, I hope I'm saying your last name right, and he can guide you further in joining in the series. Thanks very much.